I am part of an organization called FAI, which stands for Finance and Investments. So I run the chapter at my school, but there's another student who runs the same chapter at another school close by, and he had this idea for a book. He reached out and asked if I wanted to help co-author this book with him. So the first book he wanted to write was Beyond the 9 to 5, Unlocking Passive Income. A major thing was citing all of our work, right? Any research we did, we had a document where we inputted every single link, and we had a proper citation generator. We include all our citations at the end of the book. We wanted to avoid any kind of copyright issues. But I think the main thing is just having that connection with your customer, right? Talking with the customer, understanding exactly what they're looking for. Yeah, so this one was essentially just a lot of cold emailing. It's not a strategy that works a lot, but it's something that I tried sort of towards the end of the school year. And what I did is I wanted to have some sort of experience in the financial industry. So what I did is I went to the my city's Chamber of Commerce, and there they have a list of basically every financial advisor in my area, and I sent an email to every single one of them.
Guys, before we get into the podcast, 91.6% of you guys are not subscribed. So please do hit the subscribe button, since it will help get even crazier guests and blow up the channel. So yeah, let's get back into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast from the Gen Z Fast Lane. Today we have KABIR here, who is a rising senior and also from Texas. So KABIR, why don't you do a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, thank you. My name's KABIR. I live in Frisco, Texas. I go to Frisco High School. I'm a senior now, and I want to pursue something in the business area as I move on to college. So yeah, it's a little introduction.
Nice. So first, I want to just kick off by talking about your co-authoring of multiple books, which is pretty impressive considering you're currently just 17, right? And normally people publish their books when they're in their late 30s, late 40s, when they have like lots of, business experiences. So you wrote an ebook which was titled Beyond the 9 to 5, Unlocking Passive Income and Rising the Hispanic Wave, a Strategic Business Guide. So what actually inspired you to start co-authoring these books?
Yeah, so essentially, I am part of an organization called FAI, which stands for Finance and Investments. So I run the chapter at my school, but there's another student who runs the same chapter at another school close by, and he had this idea for a book and reached out to me. We knew each other through the organization. He reached out and asked if I wanted to help co-author this book with him. So the first book he wanted to write was Beyond the 9 to 5, Unlocking Passive Income. And essentially what this book is it's a guide for people looking to or seeking financial freedom beyond traditional work hours, right? Beyond the regular 9 to 5. And I thought this was a great idea for a book because it's something that has become a lot more prevalent, especially right now. A lot of people are moving away from their normal jobs, and they're finding ways to generate passive income through alternative income streams, right? So
Yeah.
I thought it would be a great idea just to learn more about passive income and share it with an audience, especially a high school audience. So yeah, the book basically includes strategies on how to transition from active to passive income. So we emphasize things like diversification, especially risk management. Throughout the chapters, if you're able to read the book, we feature some real life success stories of people who actually were able to generate large amounts of passive income on their own. And so essentially we look at these real life stories and provide a roadmap for being able to accomplish this. And so, yeah, it's a resource for anyone aiming to achieve financial independence and build long-term wealth. And we want to include any kind of smart strategic income generation through passive income. So that was the first book. And after we published it, we got a lot of good feedback. And one of the main things was that while it's an interesting topic, it's something that's definitely been explored a lot before. And although we did a lot of research in writing the book, there's so many books, so many articles, YouTube videos, whatever, about passive income. So for the second book, we wanted to do something a little more niche, something that hasn't really been studied before, but is also gaining prevalence. So the second book that we decided to write is titled Rising with the Hispanic Wave, a Strategic Business Guide. And essentially, what we wanted to do with this book is analyze the Hispanic market, specifically in the United States, right? So, how can businesses take advantage of this market? So, we basically look at the nuances of Hispanic culture, and we did a ton of research on this. We debunked some myths and explored their economic power and societal contributions. So, we also included a couple case studies in this book, and we offer insights into successful and less successful marketing campaigns. And we want to underscore the importance of cultural sensitivity, authenticity, and engagement, innovative engagement strategies. And so we
Nice.
look at everything. Sorry.
Yep, I was just saying nice. Please go on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we look at everything from digital platforms to collaborative efforts, and we provide actionable strategies to craft messages that resonate and essentially build long lasting relationships with this Hispanic market. And so, yeah, this book essentially is for anyone seeking to navigate the evolving landscape of Hispanic consumer engagement.
Amazing. So in terms of like, the overall journey or like the documentation to writing these books, I don't think many people on the, entrepreneur space are talking about like the overall process. So could you break down what the process was like for you, like from the beginning, like drafting phase to like the publishing phase, and how long was that?
Yeah, so basically, we started off with the roadmap, right? We had an idea for the book. I'm going to specifically talk about our first book, Beyond the 9 to 5. So we wanted to create a roadmap of exactly what this book would look like, essentially an outline. So what we did is we did our own individual research, both me and my partner, and we looked at what are the most important aspects of passive income. And essentially we broke that down into 12 separate chapters. And then we each took 6 chapters and we did in-depth research on them, right? We looked at studies, we looked at successful case studies, and we essentially distilled all this information. We took a ton of notes. We distilled all this information, and then this process took about 6 weeks, about a week per chapter. And then after that, we wrote each chapter. So again, about a week per chapter for the writing portion of it. And then for the publishing aspect, so we went the self-publishing route. So our books are available on Barnes and Noble and Apple Books, as well as a couple other ones. So another thing we did is we opted to make our ebook free. I think one of the things, because we're not well-known authors, it's very hard to get your book out, to get people to actually read your book. So what we did is we made it free on all platforms. So anyone can buy it, anyone can purchase it. It doesn't cost anything. And we essentially just want to market ourselves, get ourselves out there, and get people to read our books.
Yeah, nice, nice. So in terms of like the marketing efforts, like are there any core strategies that you're currently pursuing for these two books, or is it just on the websites?
Yeah, so we have social media pages for both the books, and we basically post like little blurbs of each chapter, probably once every couple weeks, and we try to gain as much of a following as we can through that, as well as just word of mouth. Telling all my friends, family members, things like that, and trying to get more people to download the book, more people to talk about it. So those are essentially the main marketing strategies we've been using.
Yeah, nice. So diving deeper into like the content, I'm just really curious, like, how can you avoid like, copyright issues? Like, do you cite them at the end, and how much content like within the books are like your words, like your originality versus like case studies?
Yeah, so a major thing was citing all of our work, right? Any research we did, we had a document where we inputted every single link, and we had a proper citation generator. We include all our citations at the end of the book. So we wanted to avoid any kind of copyright issues. And then, sorry, what was the second part of that?
Yep, I was saying like the proportion between the case studies and your originality words. Yeah.
Yeah, so we we talked about the case studies and essentially built upon them, right? We try to find connections between them and then go further, try and find, you know, what is this case study actually saying? Why is it important to people? How does it relate to the book? And how can people actually use this information from these case studies, from these successful real life stories, and implement them into their own life, right? So a lot of people have different circumstances. So not everyone can implement these specific passive income strategies. So we try to tailor it to as broad of an audience as possible and go beyond what's in these studies, what's in these personal studies.
Nice. I like how you mentioned about the action steps. I think that's a very core fundamental of a book, not only case studies. So, what's the future goal? Like, do you plan to write like the third book or?
As of now, I think I'm a little busy. I definitely do want to keep writing. I do want to keep writing books, but I think I'm going to take a break at least for a few months. Um, I think that's the same thing that my partner has said. So I think we're going to take a break for a few months, maybe start brainstorming some new ideas, and really just gain feedback on what we've done in the past. And so if we do decide to do a third, even more, we could truly make it our best work. And yeah.
Yeah, nice. So let's now transition over to your company, your social media company, Dynamic Marketing Partners. So could you briefly tell us like what you overall do? You know, what target audience do you serve, and how's the overall progress going?
Yeah, so essentially, Dynamic Marketing Partners, what we are a agency where we connect professionals, students who are looking to gain experience with companies who are looking to gain marketing, right? So what we do is we target small local companies that either don't have a social media, don't have a website, or they need improvements on their social media and website. And what we do is we connect them with students who have experience in social media marketing or have experience in building these websites. And essentially, what they will do is connect with the students and say, hey, we're looking to do this, we're looking to promote this. And the students will create certain posts for social media, or they'll create a mock-up and essentially offer it for free at first, right? I think that's the main thing that sets us apart from other marketing agencies is they're pretty expensive. But what we do is at first, we want to offer our services for free. Um, have these companies understand what exactly we do, what is the quality of our work, and if they like it, then they can start working with us, and then we can talk about a payment plan, right? So, and even after these companies do choose to work with us, we tend to keep it relatively cheap, right? So if a company is looking to just implement social media, that means, a couple posts per week on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, things like that, that'll be $10 a month. And the same thing with the website. If they're looking to have a modern looking website that's continually being updated, it'll be $10 a month. Now, if they want both, it'll only be 15. And the reason we're able to keep these prices relatively low is because, we're working with students, right? These are people who aren't exactly looking to generate the most income. They're looking to gain experience more than anything. So I think that's what sets us apart from a lot of other marketing agencies. So that's why we decided to start this firm.
Nice. So in terms of like the student side, do you provide some sort of like training or like course materials for them, or like how's the application like filtering to
Yeah,
apply?
so we have an application process where students essentially apply online. We take a look at their resume, all their activities that they've done. And so we basically have three teams, right? We have one marketing team, and we have one social media team, and then we have one web development team. So on the marketing team, we're not really looking for much experience. So for that, we have kind of like a training program where we essentially give these students a roadmap for how they can reach out to companies, right? These students are the core of our agency. So we give them some sort of a script and some sort of an email template. And their goal is just to reach out to as many local companies as possible, right? And we essentially train them on how do you talk to these companies? How do you talk to these business owners? And how do you introduce our agency? And so there isn't much experience needed for that. I think that just comes with trial and error. But then on the web development and social media team, we're looking for students who have experience in social media, in creating these social media posts or profiles, and web development. We want to have students that have experience in creating websites. And we look at their past work, right? What have they actually done? So then, if we like what they do, we'll bring them onto the team. And one of the main things is we offer that free service initially, right? So if that company doesn't like, what these students are making, what they're creating, they can always say no, and it'll be no charge to them. So yeah, again, that's kind of what sets us apart.
Nice. So could you also like briefly mention like what previous companies you guys have managed to work with, and how was that experience for the team?
Yeah. So one of the ones we're working with right now is a local solar panel company. So they're from the city of Frisco, and essentially, the one of our marketers reached out and asked if they'd be willing to work with us. One of their representatives replied. She said, I'm a little skeptical. I don't know. This is an agency of students. Is social media marketing really that
Mm.
important? But I think that member in particular, that marketing member, he was really good at just kind of finding any way to get her to say yes to something, right? And so eventually she agreed to just letting us send over some PDF images of potentially what we could post on their Instagram. So we sent that over, and then we also sent a list of key ideas. How exactly will your business benefit from social media marketing, right? This is something that has become so prevalent right now. Companies really need a good marketing team to be able to grow their business, to expand. And finally, the woman actually agreed, and we started working with them. So now we have created a social media page. We've started posting 2 to 3 times a week. We have both Instagram and LinkedIn, and so yeah, that's one of the main customers that we work with.
Awesome. So in terms of like the social media space, what do you see as like the current trends or like the current like trending softwares that you guys use or that you've heard from the industry?
So trending softwares for social media, I think the biggest one is Canva, right? It's a free service, and if you're experienced in it, you can create some really amazing posts. But I think the main thing is just having that connection with your customer, right? Talking with the customer, understanding exactly what they're looking for, right? And I think one of the best things that we do is we send over past work, what students have done in the past, and a lot of companies actually will point to one or two things and say, hey, I really like that design. Could you implement something like that? So I think that's one of the best ways we're able to tailor these social media posts, these websites to these specific companies and get them something that they actually want.
Yeah, got you. So with like the proposals to the company, could you break down like what was the core like features or like core chapters that you have?
So are you talking about when we reach out to companies?
Yeah. So like creating proposals for them.
Yeah. So essentially, what we'll do is the marketer who reaches out, they'll get on a call with them and
Mhm.
take notes on exactly what they're looking for, right? And the best thing is if that company could send over an email of maybe some templates, some example posts, and they'll work with either the social media team or the website development team or both if the company is requesting both. Um, and from that stage, these students will create mock-ups, create examples, and you know, essentially just use their expertise and email back these potential social media posts or website designs. And then we haven't really done as much, but I think we should be doing more. Is when we send those over, basically create a full, kind of bullet point list of this is exactly what will happen when we start managing your social media, when we start doing your website. This is how it'll benefit you. We've seen X growth in these companies already. We want to see the same for you. So I think if we can start including that, I think we'll also see a little more success. in getting and onboarding companies.
Nice, nice. So with like, this whole overall like management, right? There's like lots of different teams in your company. So what strategies do you personally like to use to kind of like keep them motivated and keep everything on track to ensure like deliverables are like delivered to the client on time?
Yeah, so we have a remind platform where we basically send out weekly messages, and we just send a quick, hey, make sure we have this master spreadsheet which has every single company and what they're looking for, what we've been doing with them. So we say, hey, every week, please check the spreadsheet, please check for any new openings. And yeah, one of the things is the students, their, I guess, salary is entirely dependent on the work they do, right? So if they're working with just one company, then they're making about $5 a month, right? But if they're working with 10 companies, that's $50 a month, right? Way more appealing. And again, this isn't a lot of work, right? You're making 2 to 3 social media posts if you're on the social media team, one website, and updating it every couple weeks. So that's one of the ways we get students motivated, is that their pay is entirely dependent on the work that they do, right? And there are students that we've onboarded and they really haven't done anything, and so yeah, it's not exactly harming us, right? Because we're not paying them anything. So yeah,
Nice. Super exciting to learn about the company. Would definitely love to send over some proposals or something like that. So
yeah, for
let's
sure.
move on to your other like internships and projects that you've worked on. So I saw that you interned at Bytelearn. So how was that experience for you actually?
So Bytelearn is the internship that they offered was essentially a business development internship. So our goal was to, this is a startup company, and our goal was to expand it as much as possible. So they would essentially give us a link, and we would need to generate as many ways as possible for people to click on that link and download the app, right? So my role in that was essentially, how can I get the most people to click on my link? So what I would do is I'd create social media posts, flyers, I'd send it out word of mouth, as many group chats as I could. And every week, essentially, I'd add new ways that I can do this, right? Either creating new kind of online flyers, things like that, or just finding new people that I could share this to who have a large network and they could share that among their network. So, yeah, that was essentially the premise of the internship. It was a 12-week internship. It started in January. And yeah,
What do you overall think about, like this whole startup environment? Like, do you personally like enjoy it? And like, what do you think are the pros and cons?
Yeah, I think the startup environment is pretty cool. I think it does get kind of hectic sometimes because, again, they're a startup. They're just starting out. There's um, there's a lot of unknown, right? Um,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
think for this particular startup, one of their main problems was just getting themselves out there, right? Marketing themselves. So I think that was the main reason why they hired interns to sort of help with this process. Um, so I don't have much experience working with, larger firms, but I would assume larger firms are a little more controlled. Um, they're less likely to be offering internships to high school students. So yeah, I think if I'm trying to offer a piece of advice, I'd say if you're a high school, even college student looking for internships, um, target the startups because they might be looking for positions.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think the bigger company interns, they're like, you have to be like university students. Like, they will like undergrads more than high school
Yeah,
students.
yeah.
So, how was your overall experience at Edward Jones? So, you were the financial advisor mentorship there on site. So, what were
Yeah.
you like doing? Yeah.
So essentially, it was a mentorship. So it's kind of like shadowing. I basically I worked with 2 financial advisors, and I went through their day to day. I looked at exactly what they do, how they work with clients, and so as a financial advisor, your job is essentially to create a financial plan for a client over the long term, right? So we looked at so many different things that I never really even thought about when it comes to either investing or just setting or creating a plan for how you're going to generate income and use it in the future, right? So I shadowed these two financial advisors, looked at exactly what they did, sat in on some of their calls, and just kind of got an understanding of the various aspects of the financial market and what makes a good financial plan and what makes a bad one.
Yeah. So in terms of like the outreach for like these internships, where do you normally like apply to them, and what would you recommend?
Yeah, so this one was essentially just a lot of cold emailing. It's not a strategy that works a lot, but it's something that I tried sort of towards the end of the school year. And what I did is I wanted to have some sort of experience in the financial industry. So what I did is I went to the my city's Chamber of Commerce, and there they have a list of basically every financial advisor in my area. And I sent an email to every single one of them. So I think it was like over 150 of them, and I probably got 10 replies, and most of them were saying, unfortunately, we're not able to work with you because you're a high school student. A lot of the
Mhm.
data is confidential. So unfortunately, that's not possible. I think one replied to me and said, I'm happy to hop on a Zoom call with you and discuss my job. But a mentorship opportunity, very unlikely. And then finally, this one firm reached back to me and said, there are two financial advisors. They may be able to, um, but you'll have to get in contact with them. And so, yeah, that's what I did. I got in contact with them. I basically introduced who I was, what I'm interested in. And I think they were very interested that I was looking for an opportunity like this. I think they were a little surprised in that not many high school students are looking at the job of a financial advisor, right? And so, yeah, they were pretty intrigued. And after a little bit of talking, I was able to get this opportunity.
Nice. So in terms of like your current I guess like mentorship progress, like do you know how often do you go to like the firm, or like what's your overall schedule with that?
Yeah, so it's just once a week. I go in for a little bit, sit down on calls, meetings, or essentially just have a meeting with them and let them explain exactly what what they do, right? So like recently, I went in and one of the financial advisors showed me their software and how you can essentially put in different metrics, right? So your income, how much you're willing to save each month. It'll give you a ton of facts about how much you have to pay in taxes, things like that. But they will essentially, or their software will essentially recommend a plan based on how much risk you're willing to take, right? So if you're willing to take they rank it on a scale of 1 to 10. So if you're a 10, you're willing to take a ton of risk. You're probably pretty young. And that means you can probably generate a lot of money in the long term. But if there's something like a financial crash, it's not going to look great for you, right? But then if you're much older, maybe you're like a 1 or 2 on the risk scale, you're less likely to generate as much money, but you're more likely to be safe in terms of some sort of financial crisis. So, yeah, they have this software where you can put in everything and it'll spit out exactly an actionable roadmap for what you need to do. And one of the most interesting things I saw was that over the years, different forms of savings are better than others, right? So some years just having cash is the best form of savings. Sometimes you're in the S&P 500 is the best form of savings. Sometimes it's bonds, right? But it changes every year. But what they did specifically is they listed the Edward Jones financial plan, and consistently it was close to the top in that it didn't fluctuate as much as the other ones. And so it essentially shows that you're much likely to generate the steady, long term, stable income if you choose to work with a firm like Edward Jones and with financial advisors.
Awesome. So of course you've worked at, the finance investing industry and also the marketing industry. So what personally do you like more? And like,
Um, I I would say I like finance more, and I think the only reason is because I feel like I kind of like a challenge a little more, right? Finance is a little less intuitive than marketing. I think marketing is something you can pick up relatively easily. I know you can go pretty deep into the nuances of marketing, especially if you study that in college or something. But as for my experience, running the marketing agency was much easier than learning a lot of these financial concepts. It might also be because, I'm learning these on a higher level. I'm learning what these financial advisors are doing. These are professionals, whereas the marketing agency was kind of my own initiative. So yeah, I think I gravitate towards finance just because it's a little more challenging and it offers a little more room to grow.
Got you. Yeah. I think I also see that kind of like in the industry. Like it, I think people like kind of like over, they kind of don't really respect people in the marketing field because they think it's like an easier role compared to other roles. But
Yeah.
talking about summer sessions, right? You took the Texas McCombs School of Business. You did one of their summer sessions. So before we dive into like what you overall did there, what do you think is more beneficial for like a high school student, like taking these pre-college summer sessions or like doing like an internship or starting their own startup?
Um, I think it really depends on the session you do. So, for example, the one I did, I think it was really helpful. It was an amazing experience. I learned a lot. And I think the main reason is I learned directly from UT professors, right? These were specific Macomb School of Business professors, PhD students, and we also had presentations from EY representatives, so Ernst and Young, the accounting firm. So that was a really good experience to gain knowledge from industry professionals and professors specifically. I know some college programs don't do that, so I feel like um, they wouldn't be as helpful. But I do think also taking your own initiatives to start your own firm, like for example with Dynamic Marketing Partners, um, in the beginning, it was very slow. I think we only started picking up once we started onboarding new members, right? So I think taking your own initiative is very helpful in learning, but I also think you do need some sort of mentorship, just to sort of help you kick off from that initial struggle. So yeah, I think it just depends on the kind of program that you're looking at, as well as what you're doing with the startup or some sort of initiative that you're taking.
Yeah, 100%. So like talking about like your future, like obviously you're probably gonna do like a business major, right? So what do you have in mind as of like what like are you gonna do like a startup in university or like where are you looking at right now?
Yeah, so I definitely want to study business, probably finance, most likely finance. I'm also pretty interested in economics too, which is also kind of on that business route. But as for what I want to do in college, I definitely want to continue running Dynamic Marketing Partners. I think that's been a great initiative. We've been able to accomplish a lot through it. So I think that's one of the main things. And then as for other startups, I don't know. I haven't had any, grand ideas for a new startup. But if something comes along, I would definitely be open to it. And maybe passing off Dynamic Marketing Partners to someone else. So yeah.
Nice, nice. So just to wrap everything up, what would you say is your one biggest advice for anyone who's listening?
Mhm. I would say I think it's important to learn to understand your struggle. Everyone goes through some sort of struggle in their life. I think if you're just able to step back and say, "Look, this is a difficult period, but getting through this is going to make me stronger. It's going to make me better. It's going to help me grow as a person." I think that's one of the most important things, right? Any
Yeah,
kind of failure is just going to teach you more and
build
help
you
you
up.
grow as a person. So, yeah.
Nice. Kabir, I really appreciate you hopping on the Gen Z fasting. I'll definitely link all of your books for anyone interested into the description and all of the resources that we mentioned. And yeah, if anyone wants to reach out to Kabir, feel free to do that. I'll also link his socials. And hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Until the next one, peace out.
Thank you so much.